Hello, good afternoon. So happy to see you here for the film talk, filmmaking in exile and diaspora about Cuba and Venezuela. Vamos a hacer esto en español y en inglés. Porque yo creo que nos resuelve un poco. We are going to do this in Spanish and in English. I think it's easier. I hope all of you will understand in some sense. It might be a bit chaotic because Maria Carla speaks quite well English, but Mariana prefers to speak in Spanish. Mariana prefiere hablar en español. So this will be multicultural. And yeah, I first of all wanted to introduce my wonderful co-panelists. Mariana Rondon is a filmmaker from Venezuela. I first discovered, I think it was the first year before I started here programming with Postales de Leningrado, postcards from Leningrad. I couldn't program it because it was the year before I started here as a programmer. So I wasn't in charge. I was moderating only, but that's the first time I saw your work. And then afterwards, the wonderful film Pelo Malo that won the award at the San Sebastian Film Festival, the main award. And after Mariana left Venezuela and is now making films from the diaspora or the exile. It's like a question of definition. And she is here in program with a film called Safari, which has a lot to do with Venezuela, but it's a production from the diaspora. And Maria Carla del Rio is from Cuba. She's a producer. She has co-produced several films also that have screened here. For example, she was also one of the co-producers of La Mujer Salvaje that was last year at the festival, which was one of the most beautiful Cuban films of the last year. And now she is here with a feature film produced in Cuba, Fenómenos Naturales. But when I saw the film in the Havana Film Festival last December, both the director and the producer had already left the country and not coming back. They really are living now in Spain, and it's question if you talk about diaspora or exile, it's also like a thing that belongs to the authority. Maria Carla, I think, has through her family a European passport, so she can stay, and nobody asks her if she's an exile or not because she's European. And Marcos Diaz Sosa, who is the director, doesn't have it, and so he's in Spain and has to apply for political asylum. So he is somebody who's like officially in exile, and he's so officially in exile that he can't come to Munich because he still doesn't have the residency and can't travel. That's quite tragic. So this is like the complex situation we face, and the complex situation of Cuba and Venezuela are also in some sense linked in several senses. First of all, because the governments are linked. They are like brothers, and even with a strong economic support for long years from Venezuela to maintain the Cuban system. But they are both also now in the situation of the worst economic crisis these countries have ever lived in their whole existence, at least the recent story of the, let's say, since the 20th century. And they also are two systems that are characterized by a strong form of repression that doesn't make possible every kind of filmmaking. So I think I found it interesting to do like this panel with both of them together because there might be some similar viewpoints, although I don't want to totally politicize this discussion. We're going to talk about cinema, filmmaking, and art also, of course. But to start to talk about art, first of all, I wanted to welcome you and to ask you to talk a bit about your project in order to make people know what you have filmed. Entonces, la pregunta es si pueden hablar un poco de su proyecto para que la gente conozca un poco, porque hasta ahora nos han presentado muchas veces.
Hola, hola. Bueno, gracias Florian por siempre tener las películas en Múnich.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for programming our films in Munich.
A ver, qué complicada situación.
Yeah, what a complicated situation.
Safari es una película que habla sobre lo fácil que una sociedad termina cayendo en el canibalismo o en el canibalismo simbólico.
So Safari is a film that shows how quickly a society can fall into something like cannibalism, also like symbolic cannibalism.
Si bien la película no llega hasta allá, sí hace un recorrido por todo lo que te puede ir pasando.
And if you see the film, it doesn't really arrive there, but it shows you what can happen
Para que eso ocurra, ¿no?
In order to make this happen.
La película va contando cómo pierdes derechos en simultáneo que el agua, que la luz y que la comida, ¿no?
And it shows you how you lose your rights together with the water, the electricity, and the food that are not there anymore.
Pareciera que esos son solo términos prácticos, pero la pérdida de todo eso también implica perder los derechos y perder los términos de convivencia con el otro, y la ética, y la moral, y cómo empiezas a caer en un precipicio doloroso, ¿no?
And it might be seeming like practical, all-day life, material things, but losing these things means also that you lose your rights and that you lose the form of living together with people and to have a normal life, and you fall into a kind of precipice.
Lo complejo de hacer cine en sociedades que viven unos procesos similares, aunque en Cuba.
And the complicated thing about making films in similar countries, that also the different countries have quite similar systems.
Digo, María Carla ha vivido toda su vida en ese sistema.
Maria Carla has lived all her life in this system.
Yo no, yo lo vi venir en Venezuela, lo vi gestarse.
And I didn't. I saw it come, and I saw it breeding.
Sí, quizás por eso también mi película tiene mucho que ver cómo es un proceso de ir cayendo a ese abismo, ¿no?
And perhaps my film is because of this film on the process of falling into this abyss.
Y bueno, por supuesto yo no comparo los países, no son lo mismo, aunque estén muy cercanos.
Of course, I don't compare the countries. They are not the same, although they're very close to each other.
Pero digamos que en estos momentos la represión, la violencia, el proceso de desaparición física de la gente que protesta, que se resiste, es muy fuerte.
But in this moment, the process of el proceso de
violencia,
the violence, the disappearance of the physical disappearance of people is very, very heavy in my country.
Yo, en lo personal, siempre me dije, yo política no. Ya eso lo hizo toda mi familia.
And I always said to myself, I'm not going to be political. All my family already is.
Pero bueno, la vida me puso ahí y dije, pues de lo único que puedo hablar es de política.
But the life put me there, and I'm recognizing that the only thing I can talk about is politics.
Pero siempre desde un lugar que puedo hablar de las consecuencias, porque los panfletos no me gustan.
But always in a way that talks about the consequences, because I don't like the pamphlets.
Por eso, aunque diga todo esto, mi película sigue siendo una fábula distópica.
And I am going to come to this exactly. And also, because this is like this, even if it seems like this, my film is not a dystopic fabula.
Sí lo es.
Sí lo es. Sí es que
Sí
es. ¿Qué es una,
Sí.
¿qué es una fábula distópica?
Porque sigo creyendo en el arte.
And that's because of this, because I still believe in the art, I think my film is a dystopic fabula. Maria Carla.
Hi. Well, I'm mainly producer. I have never direct. I'm from Cuba. I lived there 37 years of my life. And as Mariana said, I was born in a communist regime. I did a dictatorship. I don't want to say communist because that's a dictatorship. So when we write films in Cuba, and we want to pass the censorship, where we always try to hide the elements that could be censored, no? So when we write and produce A Natural Phenomena, which is a film that portrays the youth in the 80s that had a lot of fantasies about the future. They saw a future, but then it disappeared because of the fall of the Soviet Union, country that, well, not a country, but you know what I mean, that had a lot of economical exchange with Cuba. So after that became a crisis of people leaving Cuba and also a high economical crisis that these youth people at that moment never lived before. So we want to portray and homage that generation, and also to laugh about the official speech that somehow lied to that generation with their slogan that every Cuban have to do that, we have to win, the revolution is going to win, and we're going to build the socialism again. So these kind of slogans are still alive in Cuba, where there is another wave of immigration, the second one, and I'm part of that. Me and Marcos are part of that wave of migration, and also the filmmakers of La Mujer Salvaje, all the Cuban filmmakers and people are leaving Cuba mainly after the pandemic. So yeah, before leaving Cuba, I used to produce mainly documentaries and short fiction films. And the way we navigate the censorship was that, like, trying to hide the elements that could be a red flag for the censors. And sometimes the films once done never was released in Cuba. For example, I did a documentary called Option Zero about the migration through the jungle of Panama and until the United States, sorry, and that film never was released in Cuba. It was complete. I mean, I call it an exile film itself because it will never be screened within the country. But there are others that passed the censorship, and so and anyway, the films had a political resonancia. Bueno,
Resonance, yeah.
Exactly. And that's it. And now, well, that's what we're going to talk about, how to produce being outside Cuba. Now I'm in Spain, working fortunately as producer because it's super complicated once you leave the country, being an adult already, to reinsert within the industry, and also depending on the country is more complicated than other. I had the luck to start working as producer, and of course a lot of Cuban filmmakers call me because they want to make a film, and also foreign filmmakers that want to make a film in Cuba. So I'm learning how to navigate now the Spanish and the European grants in order to produce these films that doesn't have anything to do with Europe, but they need the European money to were born.
Well, before coming to this, which I think an essential point, so what are you doing to produce outside of your country? I would perhaps take a step back. We're not precisely going to talk about your films in itself because not everybody has seen them, but without spoiling, I can say that I see two elements in common between your films. First, that they have a strongly fantastic element, as Mariana said, like this dystopic fairy tale that is part of his film, and in Fenómenos Naturales there's also like this parallel universe that through a cyclone, a hurricane is suddenly appearing, which is not at all in Cuba. It's like a science fiction space. This on the one hand, and on the other hand, it's both films about people who see that it would be good to leave, but they're not leaving. They want to. It is all about this discussion. And I suppose these are things that happened in the case of the Fenómenos Naturales, which in the 80s led to your parents, or that happened to yourself. This question, do I stay or do I go? And for me, it would be interesting to know when you decided I'm leaving, and what was exactly the motive? What was the point when you said, no, enough, I'm going?
Bueno, a mí me pasó que con una película anterior, Pelo Malo,
I had the experience of my former film, Pelo Malo, Bad Hair, you showed here.
cuando la película empezó a tener como mucho éxito, que se veía en todos lados.
And when the film started to be successful and could be seen in every place,
Y yo empecé a hablar de lo que estaba pasando en Venezuela.
and I started to talk about what is happening in Venezuela,
Me empezaron a atacar los del gobierno
and then the government started to attack me.
y decían que era traidor a la patria.
They said I was a traitor of my mother country.
Y eso era retórico para mí, o sea, no tenía ningún significado hasta que crearon una ley donde eso implicaba 30 años de cárcel, ¿no?
And I thought that was like propaganda and rhetoric, and I didn't take it serious until the point they created a law which gave you 30 years of jails for doing this.
Como yo no estaba muy segura si yo realmente era traidora a la patria, decidí que no podía quedarme a comprobarlo, ¿no?
And as I wasn't really sure if I was a traitor of my country or not, I thought I can't really afford to prove it.
Sí. Y bueno, nada, y eso me puso en el lugar de empezar a crear esta historia.
And this made me
Safari.
create this kind of story which we are seeing in Safari.
Desde esto que uno no sabe explicar qué pasa en estas sociedades
And it's
que
about
todo lo
this,
explican con cosas fantásticas cuando es una realidad aterradora, ¿no?
and it's about these things that you can't explain yourself what is happening in this society, and it seems all totally fantastic, but it is a brutal reality.
Entonces, nada, quería como adueñarme también de esa estructura psicológica para hacer la película desde ese lugar, ¿no?
And I wanted to appropriate this big psychological story to tell this psychological point of view to tell this story from this way. And that was the moment you left the country. Eso fue
Sí, en el 2010, no, en el 2015.
yeah, 2 años después de Pelo Malo. Muy temprano.
Sí, sí.
Oh, yeah, already in 2015, which is only 2 years after Pelo Malo.
Sí.
Okay. Y María Carla? You did the film in Cuba you're showing here. It is legal there also.
See, I wait until the filmmaking of the film in order to leave, because let's say that was the film was my child, no? I work on it since long time ago, so I wanted to make it before I meant to shoot it before leaving because once I was in Spain, we did the editing and all the post-production with Marcos in Cuba and me and the other producers outside Cuba. Well, in Cuba, since the triumph of the revolution in 1959, part of the society left Cuba to Puerto Rico mainly and to United States. So since then, the families were divided between United States and Cuba. Also in the 60s or 70s, I don't remember well, there was the first migration wave. Then in the 90s, sorry, after the Berlin Wall. So somehow in the Cuban imaginary, the United States has been present a lot. We also think, the families also always think about the American dream because the postcards and the gift they receive from their families in the United States. So we want to portray that illusion somehow within the film. Also using the film Wizard of Oz as a reference because of the tornado. The character wants to live in a better place, so the filmmaker takes her to a magical place where the Cuban politicians spend their vacations and where she thinks she can get her dreams of becoming someone and getting a better place to have her child. But whatever, the thing is that me and the director, living in a country in crisis, never wanted to leave at that moment because at some point we were privileged. We were making our film, we were known outside Cuba as the filmmakers. We had some recognition there. Our families and friends were living there still, so we have a community. And I don't know, I was enjoying the country, even the crisis. I could solve the problems, and I was somehow used to that. But after the pandemic, the crisis became worse, and also the repression of the government because the people start protesting against the crisis. They were demanding the government to do something because the government owns everything, so they are responsible for the people, and the people start protesting for the first time in the Cuban history, massive protests, and they start putting in jail all the people to protest. I mean, the situation becomes very worse. Also, a lot of shutdowns. So I decided to move somewhere else because, I mean, I wanted to live. I don't want to live in a cave for the rest of my life. And me as the character of Fenómenos Naturales decided to travel to a better place, no? And yeah, that's it. As I mentioned before, that was a twist. The pandemic was a twist for me and a lot of Cuban people, also people that are 60 years old right now, that at that before they thought, well, now I'm very old to migrate, what I'm going to do, and now they want to do it anyway. It is also important that in spite of the crisis in Cuba, the health and education somehow were something that was good, and now it's a complete disaster. So that is also another motive for people to leave the country right now, people like me. And yeah, that's it. And also the Venezuelan country is not supporting the country as ever because they have his own crisis. I have to say that it's funny that me and Mariana are together in this meeting because Venezuela became at the end of the 90s like the USSR of Cuba, no? The milky cow of the Cuban government. Yeah, that's it.
There's the interesting point that you went to Spain, and at the moment you're in Mexico, aren't you?
México, Perú.
Yeah, Mexico, Peru. So we in Germany, we have also several experiences of exile waves. There was the closer one is like the East German filmmakers who had to leave the country, like Thomas Brasch, for example. He came here, got the Bavarian Film Award, even so he went to West Germany and could continue in his own language. But there was like the much more important wave during the Nazi time, where people like Ernst Lubitsch, Billy Wilder or Marlene Dietrich went directly to Hollywood and became famous there. So my question would be, wasn't there for you also perhaps this idea to say, let's go to Hollywood? Or there is also, let's say, the second capital both of Venezuela and of Cuba is Miami. In fact, there's so many Venezuelans and Cuban in Miami, and they have also structures. So this is a place where you can talk Spanish to the Anglo-Americans because it is the main language in the city. So my question was, weren't you tempted to try this way of exile, the American exile?
But in my case, when I was designing my escape map or plan, my options were United States, because in United States there is a law only for Cubans that says if you arrive legally with a tourist visa, and the Cubans spend 1 year there, they can access to the residency, permanent residency. And all my family is there. And my second choice was Spain, because at that moment I was married with a Spanish guy. So yeah, I only had to make some arrangements, etc. And Mexico in third place, because when I had a visa in Mexico, and also a lot of friends and some family, etc. I didn't choose United States, even that my family is there and a lot of friends, because traveling there, I realized that a lot of filmmakers couldn't make their work as producers or filmmakers, like in Mexico or Spain, for example. So for me, wasn't so attractive. So I decided Spain because it's within Europe, and bueno, I traveled before to festivals, etc. And I realized that there is, bueno, grants for the filmmakers here in Europe, and also the main film festivals and all the connections, and bueno, with the changing space, you can travel everywhere. I mean, for me, Spain was a better place, and I did it right because I arrived and I started working on production immediately. And now I'm here presenting the film, and I'm producing other films in Spain, having access to the Spanish grants and also the European. I'm also co-producing with Latin America, so somehow I'm still connected to the industry. And in the United States, it will take me more time because also the way the films are produced is different than in Latin America and Europe. So for me, it was more familiar the European system than the American. And that's it.
No, Estados Unidos no, nunca.
I know. No, like United States never.
No, o sea, a ver, a mí me gusta el cine latinoamericano, me gusta hacer películas en Latinoamérica, la idea de Hollywood no me interesa en lo más mínimo.
I love Latin American cinema. I love our style of making films, and I really am not interested at all in the American Hollywood system.
Y eso es lo duro, cuando entonces Latinoamérica no lo quiere a uno.
¿Cómo que?
Cuando el país no lo quiere a uno.
And
¿no?
that is a hard thing if your own country doesn't love you anymore.
Sí, o sea, te quedas realmente en un limbo, porque si yo quisiera Hollywood, pues no tendría problemas en la vida, ¿no? Estaría en Hollywood.
You stay in a real limbo because, yeah, if I really would like to do Hollywood, things would be much easier.
Sí. Yo, la verdad, me fui a Perú porque íbamos a hacer un proyecto, mi socia y yo, que es peruana.
And I simply went to Peru because
Y
my
vamos a-
partner is also from Peru, and we had a project there together.
Íbamos a hacer una película y yo volvía,
And I would like to make a film there and then come back.
pero porque yo no quería verlo y quería pensar que yo volvía, ¿no?
And I thought, yeah, I didn't want to see it. I said, I go there and then afterwards I come back.
Pero en ese ya vuelvo, han pasado 10 años.
But in this, I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back. 10 years have passed.
Y cada día está peor y cada día es más difícil.
And every day it's more difficult and worse.
Y ahí empieza un problema grande que es el haber sido siempre de un país que no tenía ningún problema, que no tenía necesidad de emigrar, entonces ni tenía la imaginación de cómo irme, ni tenía papeles para irme a ningún lado, ¿no?
And so as I was coming from a country which normally didn't have a problem, and there was never the idea about leaving the country to exile, I didn't have any plan how to do this. I didn't even have papers to go to exile.
En este momento estoy tratando de conseguir residencia en 3 países y no voy a decir cómo ni y en cuáles.
At the moment, I'm trying to get a residence in 3 countries, and I'm not going to tell you how, and I'm not even going to tell you which countries these are.
Pero compro nacionalidad donde sea.
You could buy it, yeah. But I would buy a nationality wherever I went to. Malta is famous for
No,
it.
¿sabes? O sea, no, hay una cosa muy compleja que tiene que ver ahora con el cine y es que
And there's a complicated thing about cinema.
una de
at
las
that
cosas
moment.
que hicieron en Venezuela fue que no nos dieron más pasaportes.
And one thing they did with us is they didn't give us any passports anymore.
Salimos 8 millones de personas indocumentadas al mundo.
So 8 million people left to the whole world without any documents.
Entonces estábamos todos paralizados, yo tenía pasaportes vencidos, no
And
podía
we were
hacer nada.
completely paralyzed because we all had invalid passports and couldn't do anything with them.
Le hacen una demanda en la Corte Penal Internacional a Venezuela por muchas razones. O sea,
And they did a demand to the international court.
Sí.
And they reclaimed to Venezuela to change this situation for different reasons.
sí, o sea, desde tortura, lo más fuerte,
One was torture
o identidad.
and also identity.
Entonces el gobierno decide resolver lo más fácil, que era darnos pasaporte a todos.
And the government decided to do the easiest thing is to give us passport to all of us.
Yo después de 3 años sin documento logré tener pasaporte.
And after 3 years without any passport, I at least had a document.
Y digamos que ahora es como regular, aunque si quiere te lo pueden quitar ahí en la frontera o te quitan la nacionalidad de todas maneras.
And it's now more or less regular, although they can simply withdraw the passport at the border or decide to withdraw your nationality.
Pero por ejemplo, yo ahora tengo pasaporte, pero ninguna película que yo haga, así trate de Venezuela, así la hiciera en Venezuela, tiene nacionalidad venezolana. No, las películas ya no tienen nacionalidad venezolana.
And I do have a passport, but each film I do now, even if it's all about Venezuela, doesn't have any Venezuelan nationality anymore.
Hace 2 semanas iba a haber un festival de cine nacional independiente, ¿no? Y habían 40 películas venezolanas hechas fuera de Venezuela.
And some weeks ago, there was a festival, independent, of course, Festival of National Cinema, and there were 40 films from Venezuela that were all produced outside Venezuela.
Y el festival lo tuvieron que suspender porque alguien metió una demanda y lo suspendieron porque el demandante dijo que no había ganado el festival anterior. O sea, tonterías. Sí, o sea,
And then
así,
at the end, the festival had to
cine
be
fantástico, ¿ves?
had to be cancelled because there was like somebody reclaimed or made a demand, and it was the reason for the demand was that he didn't win.
Sí, el año anterior no había ganado y aprovechó ese.
The former edition of the festival, that was for him the reason for a legal claim to the government to suspend the festivals. It seems like fantastic cinema, but it is real.
Entonces, bueno, la nacionalidad empieza también a meterse en las películas, ¿no?
So the nationality is also getting inside of the films. Since you're outside of your country, what has changed for you in your way of filmmaking, in the good and in the bad sense? So has it become easier to produce a film, or are you facing more problems with this fact? And what does it also do with the content of what
A ver,
you do?
muchos más problemas.
Much more problems.
Sí. A ver, es muy difícil hacer una película sobre Venezuela, que es de lo único que puedo hablar.
It's very difficult to make a film about Venezuela, which is the only thing I can talk about,
Sin estar en Venezuela, ¿no?
and that without being in Venezuela.
Entonces la película para mí pierde un sentido, una textura de verdad.
Yeah, and then the film is lose some kind of sense, or also like a texture.
Y hay que inventar modelos narrativos
And you have to find narrative models
para poder hablar de lo que no puedes ni ver, ¿no?
in order to talk about what you can't even see.
Entonces yo creo que desde ese lugar ha cambiado.
And I think from this point, it has really changed.
Lo bueno es que ahora
The good thing is,
que filmo donde me pongan, con el equipo que me pongan,
wherever I want with the team that they are giving me,
porque lo necesito hacer.
because I have to do it.
Lo otro malo es que
The other bad thing is
para poder hacer una película necesité 7 países coproductores.
that in order to make a film, I needed 7 co-producing countries.
Entonces la película la hice porque alguien me llamó y me dijo, te doy 2 semanas de rodaje en República Dominicana, ve a ver qué filmas ahí.
So I have like the situation that somebody calls me and said, you have 1-2 weeks of shooting in the Dominican Republic, so have a look what you can shoot there.
Sí, así más o menos hice la película.
And that's how I basically did the
O
film.
sea, 2 en Dominicana,
2
otras 3 en Perú,
2 in Dominican Republic, 3 weeks in Peru,
3 días en México,
3 days in Mexico.
y todo eso lo mezclé y así hice una película.
And I mixed all these things, and that's how I made a film. And in fact, you know, it is, if you don't know these things, it's also quite confusing. I yesterday talked with one commissioning editor of Arte, of the TV channel, who had seen the film yesterday in the press screening, or no, yesterday at 8 o'clock, and she was very confused and said, haven't ever seen that. It all seems to be in one place, and then it's in 7 countries. The swimming pool is in one, the apartment is another, and the zoo is this. Why do they do these kind of things? It's like you have to really contextualize and give the framing in order to understand that.
Sí, no, y a veces es horrible porque parece matemática, ¿no?
And it seems like maths.
O sea, haces un plano así, dices, ok, hago un plano aquí en Dominicana,
I'm doing this shot in Dominican Republic.
aquí en Perú,
And
y
then the next
desde
one
aquí en
Peru, and then
México,
this in
2 más
Mexico.
2, 4, 6, 7, 8,
2,
luego
2,
aquí,
4,
tal,
6, 8,
3
10,
pasajes de avión, 2 comidas,
three airplane
un
tickets,
fotógrafo, un
2
sonidista, 3, 4, 7.
2 dinners, one director of photography here or there, so it becomes a mathematic exercise.
Y eso te obliga a una manera de contar distinto, ¿no?
And this obliges you to tell your story in a different way. Y para ti, Maria Gala, well, for you?
Well, for me, I haven't produced yet a lot of films within Spain. At the moment, has been films from Spanish filmmakers, but I'm working on a feature film directed by a Cuban director that left Cuba at the same time than me. And we are now making a film about a Cuban exile being part of repopulation program in Spain. So it's his experience of exile within the desert of Spain, in a dinosaur park. So it's another experience. But I know about other Cuban filmmakers that lives in Spain, and fortunately, within the country, we speak the same language, and some regions of Spain are very similar to Cuba, so we can fake Cuba in some interiors, mainly interiors. And there is also a huge community of Cuban techniques, film techniques, etc., that have the experience of living in Cuba, and they can recreate Cuba within this country. But in terms of financing, it's complicated because for Spanish broadcasters, and mainly broadcasters, Netflix and platforms, etc., are not interested in Cuban stories because for the Spanish audience, it doesn't have to do with them. And also the star system in Cuba is not well known in Spain. So it's complicated in terms of financing, unless the story is related to Spain, somehow the story has some cast in Spain, or the story happens in the Spanish territory, or the stories connect to the Spanish territory somehow. For example, Cuban filmmakers have presented me, and also not only Cuban filmmakers from Spain that want to shoot in Cuba. My concern is how I'm going to finance this film here, and also there are stories that have to be shot in Cuba within the country, because the scenario is, I cannot recreate it in another place. It's very specific, and the story demands to go there and shoot, but the conditions within the country right now, I don't want to be responsible of shooting there where there is a lot of blackouts, and the supplies are very few, and a lot of, I don't know, everything is fucked there. So I have to avoid this kind of projects, unfortunately, because shooting a whole film in Cuba right now is a risk. And the other films, the only way I found is to fake as you the scenarios, and let's see how to finance. But another way to make film from Spain, is using archive images, voiceover, and also portraying the exile condition. I have seen films like that that are more common nowadays. For example, the film A Media Voz is a feature documentary that won the main prize in IDFA in 2019. The film was made by two Cuban filmmakers that left Cuba a long time ago, and it's a Cuban film about their stories of exile done with archive images. So that is also another way to make a film about your country, but outside the country. Yeah.
Or Adiós a Cuba, where is now Rolando Diaz. I didn't know
Yeah,
if you saw the
I
film.
have some films, at least here, Adiós a Cuba from Rolando Diaz, which is a very well-known Cuban filmmaker. He's now 70 years old, almost 80 years old. He left Cuba when...
He's 80 years old.
80 years old. And I watched an interview done to him, and he was explaining that he recreated Cuba in Canary Islands, and also...
Fernando is doing this act at the moment?
No, Rolando.
Rolando
Diaz. Sorry,
Rolando.
if I said Fernando, that was my mistake. Rolando Diaz.
Rolando Diaz, yeah.
He faked Cuba in Canary Islands, and he was explaining also that at the beginning his ideas to make Cuban films was complicated being in Spain. So he, drop by drop, start getting into the system with the, I don't know how it is here in Germany, but in Spain it's a point system. If the director win that prize, etc., in that festival, has more points, etc. So drop by drop, but he left young, and now he's 80. Pero somehow he managed to do films from the diaspora. He has also shot in Dominican Republic, in Miami, but he was a very well-known director in Cuba. In the 80s, he did a comedy that was a hit, so everybody in Cuba knows their films. That's why also he succeeded a bit more, and he also got a Goya with that film, so somehow he had an international recognition, and it's easier when you have an international recognition as director. For some directors, because you already had an international recognition, for some directors to start working on their films and being supported.
I would like to open to the audience, but in all the things you said, were two points I'm quite intrigued by, and I would like to ask you about this. I'm asking both questions together now, and perhaps you can answer to that. And one thing is exactly the fact that in The Exile you continue talking about your country and try to recreate it, and then you have like Comandante Fritz, the film that was world premiered here some days ago, is shot in the Canary Island, and they recreate a Cuba of the 1970s on the Canary Island, which is something extremely expensive to do. And when I look at the German exile, like people like Lubitsch or like Billy Wilder went to Hollywood and simply started to do American comedies. So they didn't seem very, very obsessed with the fact to continue talking about Germany. But when filmmakers from Latin America start to do Hollywood, and I don't want to drop names in order not to be mean, but they generally do the worst films of their career when they shoot films in Hollywood in English. And so I was wondering a bit, what is your way of maintaining your identity as a filmmaker when you live abroad? And yeah, perhaps first that.
A ver, ojalá la vida no me diga te equivocaste.
I hope the life won't tell me you were wrong.
Digo, me lo pregunto todos los días, ¿será que es hora de que ya?
Empiece
a hacer otra cosa.
Asking myself is perhaps it's time to do something different and say enough.
Sí, digo, soy cineasta y puedo hablar de la vida íntima del ser humano sin pensar en Venezuela.
And I am a filmmaker, and I can talk about the intimate life of a person without talking about Venezuela.
No tengo respuesta a tu pregunta.
I don't have an answer to your question.
Porque es un tema de todos los días, ¿no?
Because it's the subject that's there every day.
Pero es verdad que el ánimo de un cineasta es así como un día dice, vi una alfombra azul y me encantaría hacer una película de cómo se manchan las alfombras azules, ¿no? Y te metes en esa locura y no paras.
And the spirit of a filmmaker is, I see a blue carpet and I say, this is my subject. I want to do a film about a blue carpet and how is it starting to get stained. And then you're with this obsession and start to develop
es un monstruo que crece y no puedes parar.
It's a monster that grows and that you can't stop.
Entonces supongo que cuando cambie el monstruo que tienes en la cabeza, puede ser que deje de hacer películas sobre Venezuela, pero
And if the monster in my head starts to change, perhaps I do films that are not on Venezuela.
Pero bueno, ahorita en este momento estoy terminando otra sobre Venezuela.
But in this moment, I'm finishing another film on Venezuela. Yeah.
Quizás sea el último.
And perhaps it's the last one.
I have been talking with friends from Cuba, directors with whom I have worked with, and one of them lives in Brazil, and other, also in Spain. And for them as director, it's complicated to tell stories about the new home, no? Because they don't know a lot yet the idiosyncrasy and how the new country works. However, they know everything about Cuba, and there are a lot of stories that couldn't be told being in Cuba that probably they want to tell it now. No sé, there is an obsession about telling their experience within Cuba, etc. Me, myself, I have a very interesting family, and constantly I'm writing synopses about the stories and the kind of films that can be done with the family, the story of my family, that is a story marked by also the migration, the Cuban Revolution, in many ways, no? Part of my family was with the government, the other not, etc. So there are a lot of stories in Cuban families that haven't been told in all the genres possible. It can be horror films or comedy or drama or series. I mean, but it's complicated to do it in Cuba, but also to be done, no sé. I like cinema in general, and I, as producer, like to be involved in another co-productions, to know more about other countries and situations. But the reality is that I still have a story from my country that I want to tell, and that's an obsession, and for the filmmakers, I think happens the same, ¿no? For you, para ti, hay muchas historias seguro que todavía quieres contar y que, no sé, no llegas todavía como a meterte mucho en Perú para investigar tanto, porque como que tienes you have a depth with yourself about all the things you want to tell in film.
Y también que hay tantas cosas pasando en este momento, como tanta
And
injusticia,
there's so many things happening at the moment,
tanta violencia
so much violence
hacia el ser humano,
to the human beings.
que creo que es muy difícil dejar de contar eso que está pasando.
It's quite
ahí,
difficult
¿no?
to stop telling about these things.
Digo, dejar de hablar de que ahí hay una dictadura y que la gente le pasa por encima es muy difícil, ¿no?
Stop talking about the fact that there is a dictatorship that violates the rights of the people is difficult.
Quizá esa es la verdadera razón por la que no se puede dejar de contar sobre eso, ¿no?
Perhaps that is the real reason why we can't stop talking about these things.
See, and sometimes I think, what if I do it like Lars von Trier, or no, that they talk about the American society not being American, but at the same time, everybody knows the American society because of the films. But Cuba is very specific, and I haven't learned how to make it like La von Trier, for example. Sí, somehow, ¿no? And bueno, also
I did a try with the safari. In fact, I want to add my second part of the question now. What you said, you partly responded to it already. What you said about shooting in the country you're not living anymore, it starts to become worse, I believe. After 10 years, you have already missed some kind of developments. But I remember a very awful example that Maria Carla might know, the film Azúcar Amarga, Bitter Sugar by Leone Chasso. I don't know if you have seen that ever. It's, of course, completely banned in Cuba. This is a film by an exiled Cuban who left Cuba when he was 14 years old with the revolution. And then in the 1990s, he did a film on the situation during the special period and the repression. And it is the most ridiculous film in the world because everything is wrong in it. So he is a Cuban, his family is Cuban, Spanish is his mother tongue, but as he had lived decades outside of the country, he doesn't simply know how things really are. And that you have a very recent exile or diaspora for only some months. You already have 10 years, but how is it going to be in some years when you want to do a film on Venezuela and you haven't entered the country for many years?
Yeah.
No, no te voy a decir lo que hago.
I won't tell you what I do.
No, porque es secreto.
It's secret. Okay, good
Te
answer.
lo digo en privado.
I tell it privately.
Sí, bueno, I think about that because I haven't, I returned to Cuba just once for a week, also visiting my family. So I was in a kind of bubble, but I thought about that, once I return to Cuba, is the reality gonna be transformed or will be the same when I was there? Because of the values, probably have changed because of this crisis. So I don't know. See, it's something that I think about that often. Because for the people, as you mentioned, exiled years ago, they have in Cuba, they have an image of Cuba, the Cuba that they left. I left like years ago, so I have an image of Cuba a bit longer than, no sé, but that's interesting, no? Because for all the Cubans in the exile, they will make feature films or also books and art related to the Cuba they know. So it's a way also to connect with her things and vision about our country, and the same with my films. And no sé, I'm curious about that.
No, y hay también como hay tanto exilio, digo, tanto cubano venezolano, yo me reúno mucho con cubanos.
Cuban and Venezuelan one.
Son como otras maneras de vivir el país afuera, ¿no?
It's another way of living a country outside of the country.
Todo el mundo tiene una información y todo el mundo la recrea.
Exacto.
Everybody has an information and recreates it.
For example, I read in Instagram few days ago, someone posting, anyone can complain about that, but the best Cuba period was between 2017 and 2019. Why? Because it was the Obama's period and the Cuba, but then there were comments, no, the best Cuban period was before the revolution, and that it became in a discussion, what was the best Cuban period, and that changed depending on when you left and what Cuba did you live. For me, I have a great experience there until the pandemic, so I agree with that comment somehow.
I would like to give the occasion to one question at least that the audience was started a bit too late, or perhaps two. Yeah, two questions. Please, yeah.
Hola, a las dos, es un placer conocerlas. Mariana, un gusto, yo también soy venezolana. No he visto tu película, pero me interesa entender cómo haces que tu historia, porque mencionaste que el tema siempre es injusticia, justicia. Claramente, yo también soy fotógrafa, ese es el tema en el que usualmente me enfoco, pero ¿cómo haces que a través de tu arte tus películas y tus historias se diferencien? Porque al final sigue siendo el mismo tema por años. Entonces, ¿cómo logras esta diferencia y que sea todavía interesante y que siga resonando con un público también más allá del venezolano?
¿Puedes autotraducir tu pregunta al alemán o al
Yes, I
inglés?
can translate quickly. My question is simply like how, because the injustice topic continues to be like ongoing for years. So how does she manage to, I guess, create a different narrative in her stories and keep this interesting for an audience, also beyond the Venezuelan audience, which would be me? How would this be interesting for others? Yeah.
A ver, no sé si sea muy abstracto, pero siempre trato de buscarme como las consecuencias en los personajes, no tanto las causas.
So the important thing for me is the consequences for the persons and the figures, and not the reasons,
Sí.
the causes.
Las razones pueden ser cualquiera,
The reasons can be any kind of reasons,
cualquier gobierno,
any
cualquier,
kind of government.
pero las consecuencias en los personajes son las que
consequences,
me parecen importantes.
For the figures is what
Y ahí es
seems
donde
important to
creo
me.
que puede ser universal, ¿no?
And then it starts to be universal also.
Aunque las causas las tengo yo muy claras, son muy personales,
Also the
pero
reasons
las
or motives
consecuencias
are very
sirven más para todos, ¿no?
very personal, but the consequences serve for everybody.
Y además que sean muy emocionales, ¿no? Because
And then they also have to be very
creo que una de las
emotional.
cosas que más me produce a mí
Because-
Venezuela
Well, one of the most things that in Venezuela produces inside me,
es miedo,
It's
mucho
fear.
miedo. Y entonces
a lot of fear.
trato de que mis personajes
And I try that my
vivan el
persons,
miedo, digamos, para ser práctica, ¿no? En la respuesta.
or in order to be practical with the
O sea,
question,
el personaje que tiene la emoción más fuerte en la película es el miedo.
the emotion that the figures have most in the film is fear.
No es la sed, no es el hambre.
It's not
miedo.
it's not hunger. It's not hunger.
Aunque la
It's
sed
not
y el hambre
thirst.
lo provoquen.
That's okay. It's really being afraid. Y tú querías preguntar, ¿no? ¿No? Sí, 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 sí.
Hola, muchas gracias a las dos. I will do both Spanish,
Okay,
don't
thank
worry.
you, thank you.
Mi nombre es Bárbara. Vengo de la diáspora cubana, entonces aquí estoy para representar.
Todos ahí.
Quería hacer una pregunta en particular sobre el tema este de la diáspora, porque bueno, con los años y viviendo fuera de Miami, cuando salí de mi burbuja, me di cuenta que eso fue una cosa en cuestión, ¿no? De identidad cultural, de, bueno, no naciste en el país, entonces, ¿qué sabes de Cuba? ¿No? Y eso fue como, yo diría, un momento muy impactante de decir, bueno, yo vengo de una casa muy cubana, mis padres hicieron todo lo que pudieron hacer para preservar una cultura, fuera de un país donde también siempre está cambiando, porque, bueno, vienen de una generación completamente diferente. Uno vivió antes de Fidel, otro con Fidel. Entonces, y esta pregunta es para ambos, ¿no? Porque también creo que se aplica, que lo tengo aquí escrito. ¿Cómo tocas el tema sobre la tensión entre preservar la memoria cultural y reconocer que las cosas han cambiado en el país? So, to translate, coming as part of like the Cuban diaspora, I was born in Miami. Very much all my life up until I was 18, I thought I was just simply Cuban. I left my bubble and I was put into question a lot of my cultural identity and what that meant. So the question was mostly about how do you approach the tension between preserving cultural memory and acknowledging that things have changed in the country of origin?
Bueno, I think that any film or any piece of art is part of the cultural memory of any country. Of course, we are talking about the diaspora and the films done by Cuban from the first generation. In your case, you are the second generation, or? Bueno, you were born outside Cuba, okay, or probably you left Cuba very young, I don't know. And of course, for you, the vision about the country of your parents is completely different, and the connection is different, but it's also a vision that is part of the cultural memory, but outside Cuba. I don't know very well how to answer your question, but for me, it's very interesting, and I haven't seen films yet done by people from your generation, for example, and must be very intriguing. What are their thoughts, no, about the Cuban culture, what they receive about the Cuban history of the revolution, etc. Because, well, probably in your family you have people who lost everything with the revolution or probably moved later because the revolution disappointed them, etc., whatever, no sé. But that is also part of the history of the countries, the reasons why the people left and how they start living a new life. And I found very interesting the contradictions of raising you, for example, what are the values, the Cuban, the American in this case, bueno, no sé, I think everything is part of a culture and universal culture. Sometimes it's better to erase the boundaries because we are constantly, bueno, you know what I mean, moving and changing, even living in the same country, we change our mind, we are with a party, then we change, no sé. So everything is in constant moving and changing, so I think it's also part of it and part of life.
No sé, es muy complicado. Creo que
very
Cuba
complicated.
lo tiene más complicado,
And in Cuba, it's even more complicated
porque nosotros todavía tenemos poco tiempo. Ustedes
because
tienen
we have quite relatively little time, and
70
Cuba is
años, ¿no?
it's more than 70 years already.
Yo trato de que todas esas cosas sean como pensar algo desde un lugar muy personal.
So I try to think things from a very personal point of view.
Tenía muchas ganas de ver las películas que estaban haciendo en este momento los venezolanos afuera.
I was very interested in seeing all the films that the Venezuelans are shooting outside of the country at the
Para
moment,
entender cuál era la relación, cuál era el vínculo.
in order to understand which is the relation
Pero
to.
desde el lugar muy personal, no que puede convertirse prontamente en un tema cinematográfico.
But from a very personal point of view, that can transform into a cinematic argument.
Digo, yo he vivido la sensación de llegar a un país y desaparecer. Nadie te conoce y no eres nada.
I
Ni
had the
nadie.
impression to come to a country and disappear. You're nobody anymore.
De repente, porque la migración venezolana que hay en Perú no tiene nada que ver conmigo.
Because la migración
Venezolana en Perú,
the
no
migration-
conozco a la gente,
The
¿no?
migration of Venezuelans to Peru is something unknown to me. I don't know these people.
Pero de repente estar en Ciudad de México o en Madrid
And
y que
suddenly-
alguien me pare, oye, ¿tú no eres Marian Rondón?
Venezolano. Being in Mexico or in Madrid, suddenly people talk to me in the street and aren't
repente
you Mariana
existe.
Rodón? And then, other Venezuelans. So I start to exist at that time.
Pero ir a Caracas
But
y no conocer a nadie y que nadie te conozca. O sea, esas tres cosas.
going to Caracas and that nobody knows you. These three things together in some sense.
Entonces eso a mí me parece muy interesante como tema
And this
De
is a
cómo-
very interesting subject for me.
de cómo desapareces o apareces, ¿no?
How you appear or disappear.
Entonces puede ser que haga una historia sobre el hombre invisible.
And it's possible that I'm going to do a film about the invisible man. So you did answer my question. So, unfortunately, we have this only very tight slots of 1 hour, and we are already exceeded and 10 minutes over. So we can continue now. Wanted to tell you, Mariana's film is on now at 3 o'clock in the Ari Cinema, so you could simply go over there. It's quite close, and there's the tickets available. I think it was in the morning they were. And if not, we can also stay some more minutes here before going there. Thank you for being here, and please come to see the films. They're great.
Gracias.